Welcome back to the Book Digest. Today, we are diving into a really powerful book, one that kind of gives you a new pair of glasses for looking at the world. It's The Second Machine Age by Erik Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee. Their big idea? That we're living through a moment in history just as massive as the Industrial Revolution. So let's break it down. So the whole book kicks off with this really elegant comparison. The first machine age, the Industrial Revolution, was all about overcoming the limits of human muscle. Think steam engines, factories, things that could lift more, move faster, and work longer than any person ever could. But the second machine age, the one we're in right now, is totally different. This one is all about overcoming the limits of our minds. It's about tech that can think, learn, and communicate. And that shift from muscle to mind changes absolutely everything. Okay, so what's actually powering this new age? What makes it so different? Well, the authors say it comes down to three specific kind of magical properties of digital technology. These are the engines driving our new reality. First up is something you've probably heard of: exponential growth. We all know Moore's law, the idea that computer chips get twice as powerful about every 2 years. Now, for decades, that just felt like steady, predictable progress. But here's the tricky thing about exponential curves. They look flat for a long, long time, and then they go vertical. And the authors argue we have just hit that vertical, explosive part of the curve. To really get your head around this, they use this fantastic old story about the invention of chess. A wise man asks his king for a simple reward: 1 grain of rice on the first square of the chessboard, 2 on the second, 4 on the third, and so on. The king thinks it's a bargain, right? But by the time you get to the second half of the chessboard, the numbers are just astronomical, more rice than exists in the entire world. And here's the punchline. With technology, we are now officially on the second half of the chessboard. The gains are becoming so huge, they're almost impossible for our brains to grasp. The second force is digital reproduction, and this one is wild. Think about it. Once someone writes a piece of software or records a song, you can make 1 million or 1 billion perfect copies. And the cost of each extra copy? It's basically zero. This just completely breaks the old rules of economics, which were all built on scarcity. It creates this amazing abundance for us. We get incredible tools for free or almost free, but it also blows up old business models left and right. And that brings us to the third force: combinatorial innovation. This is the idea that every new digital invention isn't just a tool, it's a building block. The perfect example is your smartphone. It combined a GPS, a camera, a fast processor, and an internet connection. Nobody who built those individual parts could have predicted that someone would combine them to create something like Uber or Instagram or TikTok. Digital tech is like a giant set of Legos, and we're just getting started figuring out all the ways we can snap them together. So you've got these three incredible forces all working at once. What does that actually do to our economy, to our jobs, to society? Well, the authors say it creates two big things at the same time: an incredible bounty, that's all the amazing free stuff and new capabilities, and a much wider spread, meaning growing inequality. For years and years, economists were scratching their heads. They saw companies spending billions on computers, but the big economic numbers for productivity weren't really moving. It was called the productivity paradox. But you know what? We've seen this movie before. When electric motors came along in the 1880s, it took nearly 40 years for the real productivity boom to hit. Why? Because you couldn't just drop an electric motor where a steam engine used to be. You had to completely redesign the factory around it. And the same thing is happening now. We're finally starting to redesign our work and our businesses to take full advantage of digital tools, and the boom is just getting started. But here's the catch. Those economic gains are not being shared evenly. We're seeing what's called a hollowing out of the job market. You see, AI and automation are getting really, really good at routine, predictable tasks, the kind of work that made up a lot of the middle class for generations. So those jobs are shrinking. At the same time, we see more demand for high-skilled jobs that require creativity and strategy, and also for low-skilled jobs that require physical dexterity that robots still can't match. It creates this barbell shape, with the middle getting squeezed out. So what's causing this growing gap? The authors really boil it down to 3 key drivers. First is that skill-biased change we just talked about. Second is the rise of what they call a superstar economy. And third, there's a fundamental shift in who gets the money, with more and more of it going to the owners of capital, the machines and platforms, and less going to plain old labor. Let's really dig into that superstar effect because it's so important. In our digital connected world, being the best is a massive advantage. Why would you listen to the 10th best singer in your town when you can instantly stream the #1 artist in the world? Why use the second best search engine? Digital networks allow a very small number of people, the superstars, to serve the entire global market, capturing a huge slice of the income and leaving very little for everyone else. Now, after laying all this out, the book makes a really crucial turn. You might think it sounds a bit gloomy, right? But the authors are actually optimists. Their most important message is this: the future is not set in stone. The amazing things technology can do are given, but how we handle the downsides, how we share the benefits, well, that's up to us. Technology is a tool, not our destiny. So, what do we actually do? The book lays out some big ideas for charting a better course. First, we have to completely rethink education. We need to stop training people to be like good computers and start teaching them the things computers can't do: creativity, collaboration, empathy. We should also think about rebalancing our taxes, maybe taxing capital and automation more and taxing human labor less. And we're going to have to seriously consider new safety nets, maybe something like a universal basic income, to make sure everyone can land on their feet in a rapidly changing world. And all of this leads us to the book's final powerful question. There is no doubt that the second machine age is creating an immense bounty. We have the potential to solve hunger, cure diseases, and unlock human potential in ways we can barely even imagine. That's the prize. But it is not guaranteed. The technology is here. The real challenge, the human challenge, is to figure out how we're going to navigate the disruption, and most importantly, how will we choose to share that bounty?